Have you ever watched movies like V for Vendetta, The Giver, or even Fahrenheit 451? Do you know what these three movies have in common? Government oppressing its citizens in a dystopian society. This may sound fictional, but as technology advances, our government could have the tools to oppress its citizens. This technology is called facial recognition. According to Drew from the Wall Street Journal on July 14, 2018, facial recognition software speeds up the job determining or verifying people's identity by rapidly checking faces against a database. The government is already using this technology, such as in Hong Kong, where the government installed various cameras photographing Hong Kong citizens in order to determine who's a writer and who's not. With privacy rights being violated every day, facial recognition technology will do more harm than good in the public. In this speech, I will address the current problems with facial recognition technology, the causes, and some solutions. The first problem of facial recognition is the violation of people's privacy. Advocates against facial recognition technology argue that this technology violates the Fourth Amendment of the Bill of Rights, which means it protects the rights of privacy against unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. According to Harrison from Wall Street Post, July 20, 2018, U.S. civil liberty advocates fear unregulated use of this technology could lead to the creation of surveillance state akin to China. Countries like China is an authoritarian state and uses facial recognition technology to exert power over its citizens. Using this technology helps government officials to identify suspects against the state, and they could either monitor them remotely or apprehend them. The way that these technologies work is taking various photos of an individual and match it with dozens of digital photos and video feeds the government has in its existing database. These databases usually have sensitive information such as the date of birth, home addresses, type of occupation, and credit cards, etc. In other words, with just a push of a button, the government has a tab of who you are and where you live. Another issue is that the current technology of facial recognition is quite inaccurate, which leads to unreasonable arrests. According to Goplan from Khajiit Times from December 25, 2019, there was a study conducted by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and they have concluded out of 18.27 million images of 8.49 million people, there were more false negative matches than positive matches. A false negative occurs when two images are not similar because there has been a change in the person's appearance or differences between the image's quality. From the same institute, they have observed that there are more false positive matches in women, the elderly, and in children, which makes the technology quite unreliable to be used for law enforcement. This brings us to the second point, that according to Sasha from Wall Street Journal, February 14, 2020, that the technology is biased and should not be trusted fully, as police facial recognition technology are 100 times more likely to be inaccurate for Blacks, Hispanics, and Asians than white people. With inaccuracies, we see police scanning photos to target people with outstanding warrants, and they arrest them without due process. One cause of why the US government is so interested in facial recognition technology is because of the aftermath of 9/11. According to Harville Drew from the Times, July 4, 2018, ever since the two towers fell in New York City, the US government deregulated this technology in order to find possible suspects connected to various groups such as Al-Qaeda and ISIS. No federal government restricts the use of this technology, and it is increasingly being used by the federal authorities, police department, and local governments. 9/11 really opened the Pandora box because the US government became more strict and monitors its US citizens, which means they violated the Bill of Rights constantly. Besides this technology, in 2013, we have seen the NSA listening to our conversation. If the US government is willing to violate our civil rights, they would certainly violate again with facial recognition tech. For solutions, there needs to be strict regulations to protect people's liberties and prevent the government from getting too much power. To be clear, there should not be a ban on this technology because the potential usage for this technology incorporated appropriately will save lives and apprehend dangerous individuals from roaming the public. With that said, such regulations need strong oversight, which includes national laws that have clear limitations of what this tech can and cannot do, and public transparency. Public transparency is important because in a world full of mass surveillance technology, the government needs an individual's consent if facial recognition is required. Another solution would be stricter punishments towards companies such as Facebook for violating people's liberties and taking users' images for their face recognition technology. Strict punishments may include hefty fines to compensate the amount of users companies took into their database. With millions of users on Facebook, for example, who took millions of users' data without consent around, I believe it was 2017, this could damage the company's reputation if they have to pay a hefty millions of dollars towards people. This is a deterrent to stop companies from taking public data without people's consent.